So Share Your Learning is an exhibition where students get to celebrate the work that they have completed.
Exhibition to me is presenting the project that you've done for the semester or the year, and it can be through different things, so a video or just presenting an artifact and just engaging with the school community or a larger community about what you did.
I'm the co-director of the Share Your Learning campaign, which is a national campaign to get 5 million students to publicly share their learning to an audience beyond the classroom by June of 2020. Schools don't have to overhaul their entire school completely or become project-based learning or have internships. This is something that can happen in any school because we're hopefully at the bare minimum, students are learning something, and so they should be able to share it in some way. And so whether it's at the end of a unit or at the end of a project, having students be able to be proud of their work and accountable for their work is just really important.
What is the purpose of exhibition? Like, why do we do exhibitions?
To present our work to parents and other visitors.
To show the significance or the reason we did a project and the impact it had on either us or other people after the project.
Something that we learned that was important around the world, and then we wanted to share it to other people as well.
Or raising awareness, maybe, should we say? Okay.
For me, I really enjoy having an exhibition just because I get to engage with a lot of people. I get to interact with the community and understand who they are just by telling them what I did for this project and also what I learned from it, and they learn more about me.
So one specific example of how teachers can do a Share Your Learning exhibition at the end of a unit is we're partnered with the National Writing Project, and they're showing this film American Creed where students watch it and then they write their own American Creed. And that is a simple assignment that many teachers across the country are doing. So we designed a toolkit for teachers that at the end of that unit, just some helpful tips of how they can make it a Share Your Learning experience. So maybe it's a lunchtime coffee shop style open mic where students, they've written it already, now they're just sharing their American Creed publicly in front of the student body. Or if they want to take it another step further, they could actually have an evening event where parents and community members are involved and invited to the school, and they're sharing their American Creed that way. If they want to take it to the next level, then they could actually go off-site. Barnes & Noble, the Apple Store, these are all places that are really amenable to student work and having it exhibited at their stores because obviously it's going to bring customers, and the students are out in the community sharing their knowledge with other people. So we try to make it as user-friendly as possible so that teachers just, even if they're just ready for that one little push of just sharing it with the classroom across the hall, and then once they get more comfortable with that, they can move into whole school or inviting the community. But the important component is that students are sharing their learning with the world.
When I think about students and the role of school in students' lives, I actually think that the primary purpose of school is to help students develop their skills to think critically for themselves. So my students one year did a year-long project about food, and we studied all these different aspects of it, from the origins, like where does it come from, what is going on with food production and distribution, what's the difference between organic and non-organic, locally grown, non-locally grown, how do we think about issues of equity with food, and in terms of what are food deserts and why do they exist. So students did all this research for the whole year, and then they created this community event called Food Day, where they were educating the community about all of these different aspects. And their purpose was driven by, this is a real issue in our community, and we can do something about it.
The students throughout the process already know this work that I'm doing is going to benefit this community, and then I get to present it to them. It's almost like they're creating a gift for that community. It just raises the stakes to something that where the students feel like this work is important, this work is valuable, like there's a purpose behind what I did. It wasn't just like my teacher is really passionate about this, or this is what the book told us to do. So I'm asking you to tell me what elements of our current project should we exhibit, right? So you have several things to show, but what is it that you would be most proud of to showcase to a public audience? The key to it all is figuring out like what do we want to focus on? Like what is gonna drive the students to complete the work, to not just complete it for the grade, but also like complete it with pride and joy, so that when they do exhibit or they do present, like that joy comes across to the audience. So I think that's the first step. It really starts from there. Like, how do we want to celebrate the work? How can our students best showcase what they've learned? So not necessarily just that final product that's polished and refined, but also like them sharing whatever challenges they experienced, or how, you know, the work has transformed them, how they've grown through the work. Always do the project first, you know, so making sure that you know about how long it's going to take you to do the work, and then multiplying it times 2 or 3 for your students, you know, so giving them enough time to do the work and then building in a cushion for that just in case, you know, supplies don't come in, something goes wrong where things have to be redone, you know. I think and that can happen for any project. And I think this is something that most teachers know. Like, you can never be too planned.
In exhibition, you get to decide what you want to do. So as you probably could tell during class, we get to pitch what we want to do. So a lot of our classmates would say, oh, okay, we want an outdoor setting. Okay, why would we want that? So then we pitch why we want to do an outdoor setting. And then we say what location we want to do. So whether that be at a coffee shop, at a museum, it doesn't matter. But we pitch that, and then the teachers are like, okay, how can we build my exhibition or the students' exhibition around that setting and around their experience? So then we get to tell them, oh, okay, this is what we've done in our past exhibitions, and this is what we liked about it, this is what we didn't like about it.
We didn't know if we wanted to do off-campus or on-campus. We said that like on-campus would be easier, but off-campus would be just cooler because we could get to like a broader audience than just our parents.
Teams put in a lot of effort into their off-campus exhibitions, and then no one comes. So I think that if we do want to do an off-campus exhibition, we would just have to really like get the word out there, and maybe do it in an area where a lot of like artsy people are or something. So if they just walk by, they'll come inside.
There's a lot of great ideas. Personally, I think when it happens at school, it's a very like specific audience, whether it's other students, other teachers, or just the families. I think where I've seen most students really thrive and really buy into the projects is when we exhibit off campus. So partnering with the local libraries, you know, community spaces, rec centers, or art galleries that may be open to collaborating with our students. Having roles for each student is really important, you know, whether it's you have a couple students that are greeters, or you know, there's different roles that they could play, or there's shifts so that students aren't just standing around the whole time. When we do exhibitions, some of them love talking to people. And then there's others who are a little more shy and more, you know, will gladly take the roles where they can hide behind, you know, a table or a curtain and not necessarily speak up. So I think it's important to have different, you know, benchmarks or, you know, spaces for students to be able to express what they've learned. I think definitely the process is more important than the final product, because I think we all learn differently, and some of our students are capable of turning out that shiny product in an hour, and then there's the students who need 10 hours to get to the same place. So I think the process of creation and exhibition allows every single student that opportunity to really produce something that they're proud of, but then also have the opportunity to explain their process.
if you look at Ron Berger's work in Leaders of Their Own Learning, he talks about this hierarchy of audience and that student motivation and student engagement all increase when students are sharing in front of a public audience. And I would also add that the quality of work increases as well.
When the audience comes in and they're able to engage the students, and when we see their excitement and their feedback and their energy kind of like feeding off of the students, I think that's really how we find or how we know whether our projects are successful. You know, I think too often we rely on just what the students say back to us, and, you know, if they say the right things, then like, yeah, they got it. And some kids are really good at that. You know, they know what to say, they know how to speak. And I think the real challenge is putting them in front of an audience that is kind of a wild card. They don't know what questions they're going to ask. They don't know what experiences those individuals have that might even add to the project or add to their knowledge that they're taking in.
From doing a lot of exhibitions, I would say I feel like exhibitions have like built up my communication skills, like and also networking skills, because you're talking to multiple different people. It's not just like little kids. It's not just teenagers, but you're talking to a like diverse community.
It helps a lot because since you learn how to talk to people and to not be afraid of talking to a lot of people and asking a lot of questions, it's easier to create connections. We went to an event with a lot of politicians and a lot of business owners, and that's where I got my internship. It was just easy for me to go up to people and network with them and create connections.
I think the results and the opportunities for students to really like just come out of their shell and blossom before your eyes is when they see, you know, people who they don't know, like admiring their work or engaging them in questions, and, you know, their reactions about their work is really where students were like, wow, like I did that, you know, or this is the first time that I felt this way about a piece of work, and no one's ever taken the time to really look at it. But I think when the students are able to present it in a formal setting, you know, where depending on the exhibition, like they could be dressed up, you know, like a formal gallery, or if it's theater, or if it's a, you know, a farmer's market, like whatever it is, when they're actually engaged and engaging others who have nothing to do with them, I think that's when like the magic happens and the learning really sinks in, because now it's an experience they'll never forget.
It's getting the chance to talk about what you are the most passionate about as a student, which doesn't happen in other schools. So this is like our point where we get to say, okay, this is what we're passionate about, and this is what we've learned throughout the school year.
So after exhibition, I feel like is also really, really important, because what happens to those projects after you've exhibited them really matters. You know, I think it could really tell the students like whether this work was real or not. So I think having an idea of where that work is going to go after you've exhibited it is really important. In particular, if you exhibit off campus, you know, if that work is going to be taken home or auctioned off, or it's for a fundraiser, you know, or if it's coming back to school, like where are you going to put it up? Are you going to put it up in your classroom, in the hallways? So that's one thing. Typically, it's also an opportunity to just circle back with the students and really see like what they took away. Oftentimes, I feel like the exhibition was great, everything worked out perfect, and then I give the students an opportunity to share, and then there's things that they saw that could be improved upon. And so that's also an opportunity as a teacher to learn from the students what things could be done better, what things did we forget about, or what things came up for them. So also just to collect data for the next round.
If I were to talk to a teacher about this, I would ask them, do you think all of your students are engaged with the project? Because you need to make sure the student's like in it, and the student knows their project and also likes their project. Because if your students aren't aren't that much engaged, then your audience members aren't going to be engaged.
Who you partner with is really important, making sure that communication has been established early. You know, don't try to do it at the last minute. Like, definitely, if you're exhibiting off campus, trying to set those up, you know, months in advance where it's been confirmed, and maybe more than once. You know, working with reputable organizations that are established, that, you know, have a track record of collaborating with others. You have to be prepared to, like, be flexible, be patient, roll with the punches. And I think for me, it's also important to involve the students in the process. So being able to let go as a teacher and not feel like you have to have everything under control. For most of us, we also feel like we're going to get judged on the final outcome. So we want to make sure that it's perfect. But I find that when it's not perfect is when it's better. You know, when there's things that did go wrong, when there's learning all around from myself or the students.
The hardest thing about exhibition is the process. I think because it takes a lot to make an exhibition happen. It takes a lot of process and planning and trying to make sure that everything is just right. Maybe we don't have enough materials, then we start asking people to donate materials. Or last minute, we go out to the dollar store, or we go to Home Depot and we buy what we need. So it's usually like trying to manage those little things that pop up during the process.
Exhibition is worth it because you get to learn a lot about yourself, like what your core values are. Like if you're this kind of worker, if you're this kind of worker with like some bad parts or some good parts, so they understand you, like how you work, so they combine you with these other people who work just like you. So it's very cool to know that.
I feel pride in my work because as a bilingual student, I get to showcase something that most students wouldn't get to, and I get to do that in 2 different languages.
The way that I see it is like we're allowed to have like more freedom with it because we can talk to the teacher like, hey, we want these materials, can we go get them? So they'll like, yeah, go get them. And then versus another school where like you're just in a classroom, you're just sitting down like doing whatever they want you to do. Just writing down like stuff, like you're not really allowed, you know, much freedom with that.
One of the first times I took students off campus to exhibit in a gallery, like a student artist who I thought was more talented than myself was telling me how this was the first time that they actually felt like an artist, when someone saw their piece hanging on a wall and that was it. Like that transformed them. And this was a student that had never spoken about themselves in a positive way. It was always negative. They weren't good enough. They weren't seen. And after that moment, it changed for them.
Because I'm in SAT prep class right now, and I go every Wednesday and Friday, and we learn about strategies and techniques, and it's just all information. And I feel like that type of learning for me, it's like I'll remember it, but I only need it for a test, and then like it doesn't mean as much to me as for when we do projects, especially community projects. I feel like it's easier for me to remember them because they are real experiences that I went through, and those are tied with memories and emotions and feelings. And I feel like I actually, like I put in my hard work. I went to this specific area every Monday and Wednesday, and I was actually teaching kids. I was starting book clubs compared to like I'm sitting down at a desk looking at words. And I feel like it's different for every student, but the work that we do in projects, I feel like matters more because we're working harder and what we're doing has a purpose. Not to say that like books and like SAT preparatory things don't have a purpose, but after that test, like I'm pretty sure you're not gonna remember 50% of, you're just remembering it for that test.
A really common rhetoric in schools is that you learn these things because it will help you later in life, because you will do something big with your life later. And what the challenge is to say, no, actually, you're capable of doing something now, something important. And you can do things that will help your community and help yourself. And that the work we're doing in school is important for you now and for others. And so when you create that shift in the way that students are thinking, their engagement in school obviously increases, their motivation increases, and the kind of quality of their work is so much higher because it has to be, because it's for a real audience and it's for a real purpose.